This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Elon Musk now regrets how he tore into President Trump after the two of them engaged in what is probably the most famous social media fight in history. Yesterday on X, Musk posted that he regretted some of his attacks on the president, saying they went too far. For his part, the president backed off a bit too. Quote, "I wish him well, very well actually." Trump also left the door open for Elon to call. Quote, "If I were him, I'd want to speak to me." So maybe this is the end of the feud, but they probably won't rekindle their bromance. Speaking of Trump, General Motors made an announcement yesterday designed to match up perfectly with the president's policies. GM announced that it's investing $4 billion at 3 plants in the U.S. to boost production. The Orion assembly plant in Michigan, which was retooling to build electric pickups, will now build gas-powered full-size trucks and SUVs starting in 2027. Instead, GM's Factory Zero plant in Detroit will become its dedicated facility to produce full-size electric trucks and SUVs. But it's not part of the new investment. The Fairfax plant in Kansas will start building gas-powered Equinoxes and the new Bolt EV in 2027. GM says it will also make investments at the plant to build its next generation of affordable EVs. And lastly, the company will start producing the gas-powered Blazer at its Spring Hill, Tennessee plant in 2027. And yet, GM said it's not going to close any of its plants in Mexico or lay off any of its Mexican workers. So, there's clearly more to the story that we haven't heard yet. And at the same time that GM is backpedaling on some of its EV products, Ford of Canada is calling on Canada to repeal its EV mandate. Canada requires that 20% of 2026 model year sales be zero-emission vehicles, or ZEVs. That number increases to 60% in 2030 and 100% in 2035. But EV sales in Canada collapsed after a $5,000 federal incentive program ended at the beginning of the year. According to data from Statistics Canada, ZEV sales plunged 44% in February and March, accounting for only 6.6% of overall sales. And since that is well below the requirements, Ford of Canada's CEO is calling on the government to repeal the mandate.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
More details are coming in about BMW's first new class EV, which is currently being tested in France. It says the iX3 will make its debut at the IAA Auto Show in September, and start of production kicks off at the end of the year. The model is based on BMW's new 800-volt EV platform, which offers more range, faster charging, better interior tech, and expanded driver assistance capability. Its battery pack is now stuffed with cylindrical cells that have 20% more energy density and provide up to 800 kilometers, or about 500 miles of range on the WLTP test cycle. The iX3 will also introduce bidirectional charging and Level 2+ driver assistance technology. Those charging functions allow owners to use their vehicle as a power bank to charge other devices, as a home energy storage unit, or to receive and distribute power back to the grid. In terms of hands-free driving, the system in the iX3 has 20 times faster processing speed and can navigate on highways and even city streets with traffic lights. As a little side note, BMW shows how silly the differences are between the major test cycles. The company estimates that the iX3 will get 900 kilometers of range on China's CLTC test, or 100 kilometers more than the WLTP, while it predicts that the EPA test in the US would come out around 400 miles. That's only 645 kilometers of range, or about 100 miles of range difference between the EPA and the WLTP. While BMW is definitely upping its game in hands-free driving, Chinese automaker Xpeng is about to introduce a new version of its G7 SUV with its own in-house developed chips that will provide Level 3 and possibly even Level 4 autonomous driving capabilities. Car News China reports that the model will come with 3 of Xpeng's new Turing AI chips, which will also enhance its smart interior tech. Each chip has a computing power of 750 TOPS, or trillion operations per second. I know that number won't mean much to some of you. So, for comparison, NVIDIA's current chips have about 500 TOPS. Volvo says later this decade it will have vehicles with 2 of NVIDIA's chips for 1,000 TOPS of computing power. But the new G7 will have more than double that, and it's supposed to be out before the end of the year. Plus, it's expected to be priced around $36,000. If there's one thing that automotive suppliers hate, it's when automakers don't pay their bills on time. Historically, car companies typically pay in 60 days, but they've been known to stretch that out to 90 days when money is tight. Well, payment times got so out of hand in China, it looks like the government had to step in. Car News China reports that BYD and Geely were not paying suppliers for 127 days. SAIC, Great Wall, and Li Auto were closer to 160 days. NIO was at 195, and Chang'an was over 200 days. As a result, suppliers were suffering from severe cash flow problems. But earlier today, all of the automakers agreed to make payments within 60 days. And the fact that they all made the same announcement within hours of each other strongly suggests that the government was behind the move. As impressive as the Chinese auto industry is, it has structural problems. It has massive amounts of overcapacity, almost none of its automakers are profitable, and a raging price war threatens to harm the industry. And that suggests to us that the government is going to have to step in and do a lot more than just make sure that the car companies are paying their bills on time. And there's actually one more thing to add to the list of problems Chinese automakers are facing, and that's a backlash to all the cars it's exporting. The US has practically banned any Chinese imports. The EU slapped higher tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. Next year, Chinese cars face a 35% tariff in Brazil, and Russia, which considers itself a close ally of China, put a $7,500 fee on imported cars, which are virtually all Chinese. And while China is still exporting cars, the rate of growth is now running at less than 1/3 of where it was a year ago. Toyota Gazoo Racing unveiled its liquid hydrogen-powered Le Mans prototype called the GR LH2 concept. The company didn't share many specs, but it's based on Toyota's current hybrid hypercar that competes in the FIA World Endurance Championship. The automaker created the concept to help develop its hydrogen technology and infrastructure and to achieve its overall goal of a carbon-neutral society. The liquid hydrogen prototype is currently being shown at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. Do you think that Volkswagen needs a smaller all-electric van? According to sources that spoke to Autocar, that's one of the things that's being internally discussed at the automaker. It says VW is considering a minivan-like EV that would slot below the ID. Buzz and could replace the Touran for markets like Europe and China. The automaker has even reportedly dusted off old concepts for inspiration, like the Bully from 2011 and the Buddy from 2016. The ID. Buzz currently has a starting price of around 55,000 euros, or about $63,000 in Europe. So a smaller, less expensive electric van could draw in more customers. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by
Making a life full of memories, one road trip at a time. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Weather Peak tires with a 70,000-mile limited warranty.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.